Welcome to the course of Power Engineering and Refrigeration. Myself D.S. Barbole from Mechanical Engineering Department of Government Polytechnic Jindur. Today onwards we will begin with the subject of Power Engineering and Refrigeration. So let us begin with the introduction. Now in this subject there are 5 units. First unit is the internal combustion engine, second unit is the testing of IC engine and the emission control, third unit is the compressor, fourth is the gas turbine and the jet propulsion, and fifth one is the refrigeration and air conditioning. So now we will begin with the first unit. So internal combustion unit. Now after this learning of this unit, students will be able to calculate the performance of a given engine based on the corresponding air standard cycle. Next is the student will able to explain the sketches, valve timing diagrams for the given engine with sketches, and also student will able to explain the neat sketch, the construction and working of the IC engine auxiliary like turbocharger, inline fuel injection pump, piezoelectric injector, exhaust gas recirculation, that is EGR, multi-point fuel ignition, that is MPFI system. Also student will able to explain the maintenance procedure of a given fuel injection pump for MPFI system and EGR and CRDI unit. Also student will able to apply BS6 norm to the given engine. Again the student will able to apply BS6 norm with the given engine, state the procedure to undertake routine maintenance of a given IC engine. So this is the course outcome of the subject. Now so how human transportation evolved. So here we can see first one is the bullock cart, next one is the cycle, then there is a bicycle, then four-wheeler is there, railway is there and aeroplane is there. So these are the various stages of evolving the human transportation. And now if we need more speed, then we need to go for the engine. Now third figure, this is the bike. So in this bike consists of an engine. Now how this engine work, we are going to learn in the subject. Similarly, car also has an engine, railway engine, name itself is the engine, then aeroplane. So how these functions, how these things work, that we are going to see in this subject. Now so the engine. Now, what are the various parts of an engine? So engine consists of a camshaft, cam. Now here it is the intake system, intake manifold we can call it as. Now this one is the intake valve, then combustion chamber, this one is the combustion chamber, spark plug, then here it is a valve spring, then here it is this one is the intake valve, this one is the exhaust valve, this one is the engine head, cylinder head, this one is the cooling water circulation system, all these things, this green color thing. This one is the piston. Now here we are having a piston rings, then this one is the cylinder block, this one is the connecting rod, and this one is the crankshaft. Now crankshaft is attached to a output shaft, that is power output shaft. So these are the various engine terminologies. Now this is the overview. We are going to learn each and every term one by one. Now first thing in engine terminology, once again, what is the meaning of cylinder? This one is the cylinder part, external body which is surrounding the piston, it is called as a cylinder. Cylindrical shape, we know this thing, yes, pi by 4 d square into H. This is the volume of the cylinder. Similarly, we are having here a cylindrical shape. Now, next thing is the cylinder bore. Now, here bore means the internal diameter of the cylinder. It is called as a cylinder bore or simply a bore. Now, next engine terminology is the stroke. Now, what is the meaning of stroke? It is the maximum distance traveled by the piston in a cylinder in one direction and is equal to the twice of the crank radius. Now, this is the upper top dead center and this one is the bottom dead center. It is the maximum distance traveled. Now, this one is the maximum distance traveled by the piston and this distance is called as a stroke. Or also it is called as a stroke length. Now, next definition, next is the top dead center. Top dead center, it is the extreme position of a piston at the top of the cylinder. When this piston moves to and fro, the upper or extreme position achieved by this piston, it is called as a top dead center. Now, exactly opposite is the bottom dead center. It is the extreme position of the piston at the bottom of the cylinder. Now, when this piston moves at the bottom, now this is called as a bottom dead center. Next, swept volume. It is the volume of a piston displaces when it moves from the TDC to BDC of the cylinder. So, when this piston moves from this TDC to BDC, whatever the distance which is traveled or the cross-sectional area covered by the piston, that volume, it is called as a swept volume. Now, another term is there related to the volume. It is called as a clearance volume. In a clearance volume, when pistons reaches at the top position, then there is some volume in between the cylinder head and the upper part of the piston. That volume, it is called as a clearance volume. So, we can define it as it is the volume of the cylinder above the top of the piston when piston is at the TDC. TDC means top dead center. Next definition, compression ratio. What is the meaning of compression ratio? It is the ratio of volume before compression to the volume after compression. So, what is the meaning of a compression first? Compression means by applying the force, if the substance is changing its volume or a density, then it is called as a compression. Yes, reduction in a volume, that means a compression. So, when this piston moves from the bottom dead center to top dead center, and if these both the walls are in a closed position, then the volume is reduced. So, the ratio of the volume before compression to the volume after compression, this is called as the compression ratio. So, it is a ratio of a volume before compression and volume after compression. Next, expansion ratio. What is the meaning of expansion ratio? It is the ratio of volume after expansion to the volume before expansion or compression. So, this is the expansion ratio. We are going to revise each and every term, but this is the definition thing. We need to mug up this definition and remember when there is a concept point is there, at that time we need to remember all these engine terminology. These all are the basic thing, definition thing. Next is the cutoff ratio. What is the cutoff ratio? It is the ratio of volume at the end of heat supplied to the volume before heat supplied. So, it is the ratio of volume only, but at the end of heat supplied and the before heat is supplied to the cylinder. Now, this one is the cylinder, and to this cylinder volume before heat supplied and at the end of heat supplied. Next one is the piston speed. Now what is the piston speed? It is the distance traveled by the piston in 1 minute. So now this piston moves in the to and fro direction from TDC to BDC and BDC to TDC again and again. So this is the piston speed, distance traveled by the piston within a per unit time, you can say. Last engine terminology now, mean effective pressure. Yes, what is the meaning of mean effective pressure? It is the constant net pressure acting on the piston that will produce same amount of work as that of produced by the actual varying pressure produced during the cycle. Mean effective pressure, for simple understanding, you can consider it as an average pressure acting on the piston at any point of time. So this is the mean effective pressure. So these are the engine terminology. Now we will stop here. We will continue with the next working of the engine in a next video.